Hello and welcome to You Are the Magic podcast. My name is Kylie James and I am your host. And I am so happy to welcome our special guest on today, Rachael Forbes. Hi Rachel, how are you going?
Hi, Kyle. I am great. Thank you very much. Great morning, everyone.
Great morning to you. And how's this morning? You are up fresh, bright and early, out walking.
Absolutely. So I've finally nailed down a morning routine that works for me, which is a karakia, which is a Maori prayer. And so
Oh,
that starts
nice.
off my day. And then I like to get a walk in before I get into the rest of my day. So I cut it a little bit short this morning, but I walked up my local Mount Gravatt, which it gives a great overlook or looking over the whole of Brisbane. So it's a really beautiful way to start the day. And sometimes
Oh,
I even get to see koalas.
that just sounds magical, doesn't it?
There's even a little tree that's about halfway up or three-quarters of the way up that has a door in there. So you open the door and some people leave little notes. So it's really quite like a little magical part of Mount Gravatt Lookout. Yeah,
Probably where all the fairies play, hey?
absolutely.
And
Oh,
you know how much I love fairies,
yeah,
so
I'm going to treat you there, Carly. Don't you worry about that.
now you've just mentioned a practice that you had, that you start with every morning. And what that has sort of raised within me is, I want to know a little bit more about you and who you are and what you do. Are you able to share, firstly who you are, and then maybe go into a little bit of, who Rachel was before she became Rachel today?
Yeah, wow. There's a lot I can tell because I've been living for over 5 decades now, so there's a bit of experience behind me. But what I do now is I work a lot with energy, and that's part of the importance for me with doing the karakia first thing in the morning, is really tapping into the elements and giving thanks for that. Also, my ancestors and my family, my mind, my body, spirit, it's all in that prayer. So, all of it is important. I'm a multidimensional being, as we all are. Some of us forget, though. So, part of my role on earth is actually to remind people and hold their hand, walk beside them, to remind them of their magic and who they are. So I run women's circles, and I've also introduced a beautiful elemental one, which is to do with cacao and breathwork, which you've experienced. And I also co-facilitate and assist at women's retreats as well. Also, my absolute magic is a gift that my mum gave me, which is massage. So I've got 48 years of massage
Well,
experience, and I don't think there's many people alive that could say that. You've been on my table as well, so oh,
not not
not
yet,
yet.
not yet.
You've got to come. You've
It's
got to come.
yes,
Here.
yes, I will definitely
I
be
feel like
coming. And
you have already.
well, maybe in a different timeline I have.
Maybe. So I was actually born partially deaf, and there's no genetic reason for it. My dad and I have a little bit of a theory though. So I was born in the late 60s, and my mum at that time was taking the pill to prevent pregnancy. Apparently, I was a determined soul and wanted to be here on earth with some kind of mission. Um, and so she said to her doctor, I think I'm pregnant. And he goes, "Oh, no, you're not." You know, the arrogance of doctors, particularly in those times, and not all doctors, I should say, but there you go. She kept taking the pill, and my dad and I believe that perhaps because the pill was particularly heavy those days, it would have drained the body of a lot of nutrients that were needed for nerve development. And I also have a very high tolerance for pain, so it kind of fits in with that theory too. So that's what I'm going to go with, is that the pill was the one that caused the deafness. But that
Mm.
really contributed a lot to who I am in terms of I had to tap into the other senses. So I'm an aromatherapist, I'm a massage therapist. I also rely a lot on my intuition. So I'm using my sense of smell, I'm using my sense of touch, and I'm using my intuition and my gut and that inner knowing. So it makes sense to me that maybe the reason for my deafness was so that I could develop those other senses in my life. Or
Yeah.
you could also look at it the other way, that I was able to be flexible with my behavior and not rely on my hearing and therefore use my other senses.
I absolutely love this. And it's about saying, I'm not limited by what I can or can't do. There's all these things that I can tap into to bring my magic to the world. It's just,
Absolutely.
I think that's such an incredible message.
Yeah, I agree. Same for each and every one of us. There's some kind of challenge that we may have. So, I mean, there's two ways to go. If you can't go over it or around it, you've got to go through it, right? I love the bear hunt story. It's a
The
great
bear
analogy
hunt.
for life. Yeah.
Tell us about the bear hunt story, just for our
Oh,
listeners who don't know about
you
it.
don't have children. Anyone that has a child is bound to know the story. We're going on a bear hunt.
Yes,
So we can't can't go through it, we can't go under it, we've got to go no, we can't go around it, we can't go over it, we've got to go through it. So that's kind of like challenges in life. We can't go over it, we can't go around like under or around it, we've got to go through it. We've got to go
yeah,
through the challenges to be able to stretch and grow and find that bear.
yeah. I love that. I know one of the sayings is from a leadership guru called Robin Sharma, and he always talks about change being hard at first, difficult in the middle, and beautiful at the end. And that
Yeah,
kind of really resonates with what you're saying, is like basically find a way through it. Doesn't matter how challenging it is, but you can navigate your way through and get to that other side, and it'll be beautiful. But
absolutely.
you do have to kind of do the work first.
Yes, and actually that's
Yeah.
something that I didn't even mention before and that I really actually love doing too, is helping people with that. So I'm a health and well-being coach. Health is and well-being is in my top three values. I'm the queen of hydration, so I make sure that people get onto their hydration. Body movement, as you already know from talking about my walking this morning, is really important. I
Yeah.
also do capoeira, which I didn't start until I was 52. So starting a martial art in my 50s, it's a Brazilian martial art that involves a lot of acrobatics and dancing and a lot of strength and that kind of thing. So and it's also beautiful access to community, which I'd like to talk more about soon.
Yes.
And the other thing is good nutrition. So
Yeah.
nourishing the body in all the ways so that we can operate at our optimum. Without health and well-being, it's the struggle to actually achieve all the other things we want in life.
Yeah.
So that's why they are my top three values, and I assist others in returning to their best health for them and always discovering ways that work for themselves. Like, not everybody likes to do walking. Maybe it's swimming or dancing or, martial art, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that help and joy for themselves again with coaching.
I love that. I love that. And we will get to building your community and, the community that you're part of really soon. But you just touched on something that I often talk to a lot of my clients about, and it's starting new things in our 50s or our 40s or whatever that age is.
Yeah.
And I want to delve into that a little bit more, because a lot of people will actually say that their age is a barrier. And
That
for you,
I,
you're like, no, 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 I'm starting.
I've
So tell us a little bit more.
I've even seen in social people complaining at the age of over 40 or over 50, your body starts to deteriorate. I'm in great shape. It's just a matter of making sure you prioritize that for yourself.
Mm.
Stop making the excuses. I mean, I have had things that have given me challenge physically, and I just switch and change things around. It might be that maybe I've been eating a little bit too much sugar. That's the biggest challenge for me. So I pull right back, and what are the things that will support my body to help me get through that particular, challenge? Like, for example, my fingers at one stage were getting a bit arthritic. So I cut back on some of the acidic type of foods and it came right again. Just got to work out solutions for it. So
Yeah.
martial art was something I wanted to do right from when I was a teenager. And I was already doing so many sports as a kid. There was one year I was playing three sports in one season. So I played basketball, schoolgirl basket, no, women's basketball in the evening during the week. I played schoolgirl netball on Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon, they were a bit short on hockey players that particular year, so I went back to playing hockey. So I was playing all these sports, so martial art was just that one more thing. And I also had a bit of lack of confidence in trying that particular sport out because it was outside of the school. And so I didn't feel confident about it, going in to do that. So at age 52, I started capoeira.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
like I started, I've never been able to do great cartwheels from a kid. Now I'm kind of okay. So you can turn an old, like teach an old dog new tricks. You can give it a
Yeah.
go at any age. It doesn't matter. I want to be learning new things until my 90s.
Yeah.
To keep,
And I think the big thing that jumps out at me is that you just want to have fun.
yeah,
Just with
yeah.
anything that you do. So whether it be doing cartwheels or, supporting a client, where it's there's an element of fun with you.
And funnily enough, people can locate me by my laugh. I was separated from my kids in a big shopping centre, and I'd caught up with some friends, and so they had no idea where I was. Obviously, I wasn't looking at my phone, so I couldn't even tell them that. And they could hear me laughing, so they actually worked out that they were downstairs, they could hear me laughing from upstairs. So, yes, fun is a really important thing. Like, life's too short. And I've taken
Yeah.
things seriously so many times, Carl, but yeah, the more fun I can have, the easier it is to get through the so-called harder stuff, the more challenging stuff in life.
Yeah,
Boring
absolutely.
of the structured things. I'm not really into structure and I'm learning to love it.
I think you and I are on a similar wavelength there that, structure can be our friend at times, yet, feeling the flow and going with the flow actually just feels a lot more natural and I don't know, it feels a bit more right to me, if that kind of makes sense. Like it just, yeah, natural maybe is the word.
Actually, it's funny that you tap into the flow, and this is something I would love to talk about is my bloom
Yeah.
coming into those elements in nature. So water is very flowy,
Mm.
but it also represents emotions. So you can think about the stillness of a lake and the time that you get to reflect more deeply. Or maybe it's a beautiful rhythm of the tide where the waves are coming in and out. That beautiful kind of, it's very mesmerizing and calming. It could be maybe we do need more structure in our lives, like I do sometimes. And part of that is being grounded and strong. So tapping into the energy of the trees that have got the deep roots. And it actually is with those deep roots and tapping into that wood energy that we get to still be flexible and bend in the wind, which brings in the element of air. So, we get to play with all these elements. And so the bloom elemental I'm talking about, I hold at Wollongabba on the third Friday of every month. And I really love being in ceremony and in circle with women, again, connected to community. So, community, if you really break it down, common unity. And as human beings, we really do like to belong. So that's why for many, many years I've been into building community because I didn't really have it as a child. Sports was probably my community. So I was still being physical, I was still working with team. But as I got older, sitting in circle with women was very important. And so
Yeah.
the Bloom and Bloom Elemental is where I get particularly to build that community and be part of that community. There's many others
Yeah.
I'm involved in too. Like we think about the NLP community with Elizabeth Ann Walker. There's also Ungu Capoeira, where I'm in community and I call them my family. So, like community is another thing that's really important for me.
I love that. I love that. And you touched on when you were growing up and you didn't have that. Can you talk a little bit more into that? And then obviously that's what's I guess, really brought, I guess, this desire or passion for community nowadays? Like, what was it like growing up when you didn't have that community, perhaps?
So when I was born, my parents were the two teachers at a school in New Zealand in an area called Pamapuria, which is just south of Kaitaia, so right up north of New Zealand. And it was a Māori community. We were the only Pākehā, even though I have Māori heritage and I really identify with that now. It was, so my mum and dad both spoke a little bit of Te Reo Māori, but it was difficult for me in some ways to connect with the other kids. So there were a few factors. One, I was partially deaf. Two, I was a daughter of the two teachers at the school. Three, I was the only Pākehā kid there, the only white one. So Pākehā means white ghost. So apparently, I used to say to my mum, I want to go out in the sun and get brown. I want to be like everyone else. So, right from the start, I wanted that sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So, at age 8 was when we moved from that little community to a slightly bigger community. And that was when I stopped being a cuddly child. So, this is where my mum introduced me to safe touch through massage. So she was self-taught through this beautiful little 70s book, which has got these pen drawings of, like nude people. It was very quaint. And I actually bought my own copy as a young adult to have as a reference because I'm so fond of that book. That's where I actually learned most of my massage techniques before I then went on to get formal qualifications. From from that age 8 right through till my end of my teenage years, I found it really difficult to connect with other people. And I'm not sure of the reason why. Part of it was, again, being partially deaf and my parents being the teachers. So my mum was at primary school, dad was at high school. Although dad was a lot more cool, according to the other kids. They're like, gee, your father's a neat teacher, eh? Trying to remember the old Kiwi accent. But I think I always had that wanton desire to belong and to fit in, and yet in many ways I also like being unique and different and standing out and being the crazy one. So it's this real push pull of who I am, and that's what it is to be human. Like we get to
Yeah.
play in all these different areas and how to be different. I don't colour my hair. I think I've coloured it once when I was 17 in full colour, and since then I've had like a few little, bits of blue and a bit of purple just for a bit of fun when I was hanging out with my crazy derby chick friends. But other than that, completely natural. And that's unusual. Like most people in their 40s and 50s will colour their hair. So there are my ways of being a little bit different, a little bit crazy, and yet still belonging and being part of community and creating that for others as well as myself.
I think this is just such a beautiful conversation because belonging has been something that's come up for me over, I think, the last 20, actually 20, 30 years, where you just didn't feel like you belonged, but you didn't know where you belonged. So it's trying to find yourself, trying to find where do you fit, and then also admitting that you don't have to fit anywhere.
Yeah,
And so there's this paradigm that you can hold that it's actually okay just to be. You don't have to be something or be someone or be what everyone else expects you to be, or whatever it is. You can just be you, and you'll fit wherever you naturally fit, if that makes sense. You don't have to force it.
definitely. So it's about, we often talk about this, it's about wearing a mask. And for those who are actually watching YouTube, I did this beautiful mask making workshop with a woman, and it was about playing with archetypes. So, and that's the thing, we put on masks and we pretend to be who we're not.
Yeah.
And sometimes I believe masks can be a useful thing on a short-term basis if it helps you to fit in. So it's also about flexibility of behavior. And
Yeah.
that's a paradigm, right? You you get to be yourself and you get to play and try on different archetypes or have that flexibility of behavior to fit in more in a certain situation, like whether you need to be
Yeah.
more formal than usual or you can really let loose to maybe stir up a bit of emotion in other people, like whatever it is. And I think that's something that a lot of people who do personal development that are teaching it is like play with it, stop being so serious.
Yeah.
And big part of that is as humans, we tend to hold on to emotions. And so the work that we do, and also that I do with my table, like more somatic level, is how to strip back those layers of maybe past traumas or past hurts, past behaviors, past beliefs that we can let go of. And so the neuro-linguistic programming that we do to be able to let go of those and truly let them go, rewrite our story is so powerful and so useful that it then releases everything so that we can fill our cup with the great fun things, the things that nourish us, the things that we feel all the different types of love that we get to experience. Because there's many types of love. Like a lot of people say, well, love's the same thing, but there's not. You know, like there's agape, which is universal love. There's eros, which is the erotic love. Like there's at least seven of them that the Greeks used to name individually. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's and so emptying out the old and bringing in that new ways of being, new feelings, new ways of being curious or having fun or sharing intimate moments. You don't get to do that if you're stuck with feeling depressed and not feeling or holding on to that anger that really is only eating you up, it's not hurting the other person. So go and find
Yeah.
and let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've just touched, what was coming through, the question that was coming through for me is, what are some of the common themes that come up with the women that you work with that some of our listeners might resonate with and think, oh, that's kind of in my world at the moment. And then what can I do about it? Is there anything that you can share? Obviously, not disclosing
No,
any
well,
personal details,
for me,
something.
like women are taught not to express their anger. And so anger
Yeah.
is the biggest emotion that gets suppressed, particularly in women. And men, it's very common in men too, because they're not shown a safe way to release their anger. And
Yeah.
so I think that this is probably the biggest contributing factor towards separation of, particularly with marriages, but any kind of relationship, is instead of working out ways to release that and then work together in community, like it's still to be working with a partner that you love. Like anger, yeah, anger is the biggest one for me. But of course, there's hurt, guilt, sadness, and fear. And then there's also the limiting beliefs from all of the things that we've been programmed over the years from our parents, from school, from our workplace, from social media. Like, it's still so relevant today, and, like,
Mm.
the help is there. It's about putting your hand out and going, "Yes, please, I would really like to walk beside you and learn a new way of being." So anger's the biggest one for me.
Yeah, wow.
So, one of the things I mentioned at the beginning that I do is co-facilitating and assisting at retreats, which I do with the Women's Space, which is a sister company to EAWTC, Elizabeth Ann Walker Training and Coaching. And there's one process in there that is so magical if women can take themselves there. So it's about releasing their anger into the fire.
Yeah,
So I know that this is something that you've experienced, Kylie. How was it for
absolutely.
you, that process? Knowing that
Oh,
you'd already released a lot of your anger, so the process was probably a little bit different for you than some of the women that were there.
yeah. I think it's about um, you've really got to go within and really find what is that anger that's inside of you and what do you need to let go. And it doesn't matter how much work you've done to release emotions in the past. it's like, we're an onion, like the layers just
Yes.
keeps getting peeled. And I did this a couple of weeks ago and you were there, absolutely. And it just felt freeing, really freeing, to be honest. And I think the main thing is you've got to forget that there are other people around you when you're doing it. You've just got to stay in your little space
Yeah.
and just say what you need to say because it is a safe space.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just need to say it, and it's amazing afterwards. It's like a weight is lifted off your shoulders because quite often anger is suppressed, and it stops your voice, and you lose your voice
Yeah.
because I don't know that's I guess what was happening for me was I didn't feel like I could speak up, or I didn't feel like I could say something, or if I said something I might upset people, so then I wouldn't say something, but that would still upset people, so then you feel like you can't win, so you just go round and round and round in these circles, and it's
Yeah.
like, hang on, I need to get out of that cycle
Yeah.
essentially. So yeah, it is a beautiful experience to do, and it's really hard to describe. So
Yeah. You just
until you're in it,
yeah,
it's
right.
hard to describe.
It's both somatic and you're tapping into elements. Like there is that sense of safety that's provided. And that's something that you can do either like one to one or in a group. And yeah, there's so many aspects we could talk about with that. I'm really glad that you managed to peel off another layer and release even more. It was really beautiful to watch because at the end you were actually just dancing with in celebration of yourself.
Yeah, I've always said when I was a little girl, I used to just sit in my own little world and sit in my room and pretend I was on stage and all those sorts of things, and I forgot all of that.
Yeah,
And you go to school, you go to uni, you go to work, life happens, 9 to 5 happens, all of that kind of stuff, and you're just busy, busy, busy. And I think to be taken back to that young girl where it's like this freedom element again is
yeah.
actually a really beautiful experience to have where you just, floating around and it's like there's not a care in the world kind of thing
Well, it's about that
to a certain degree.
it's about that freedom to express.
Yeah.
And that's what you get to do when you let go of all the anger, the fear, the guilt, the sadness, the limiting decision. You can express and be yourself, not have to put on a mask. And you find the people that resonate with you. Like it,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's actually a really important element. And like you said about like opening up that area of the throat chakra, if you look into the energetics of it as well, is having that better communication with people. Like, yeah, that freedom to actually ask the questions and be happy to be asked. So all of this work is just so freeing and opening. So yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good that you pointed to that.
And it brings in the approach of curiosity.
Yeah,
So you approach everything with curiosity rather than with anger or shame or guilt or whatever it is. It's actually a different approach that you come to the table with, basically.
yeah. It's almost allowing that inner child to come out, like the playfulness approach rather than this heavy, serious stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let's go back to you and I guess just your journey as you've evolved over, time over the last 5 decades. You've talked to us a little bit about what growing up was like,
Yep.
and then you've talked to us about what you do now. What's the piece in the middle? Like, what was your game changer to say, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, and this is how I'm going to move forward? And maybe there wasn't a game changer. Maybe it just has
Evolve.
always been there,
Yeah.
or it's
Well,
evolved.
it's funny because, like I said, that's a quite a long time to be living. And now I'm going to have a little bit of a trip down memory lane, I think. I
Ooh,
left home
yay.
when I was 17, so I left that little town and went down to Auckland in New Zealand and started to learn how to be an adult and then more independent. When I was 21, I then moved over to London, where I was there for nearly 7 years. So the beginning, it was pretty much through most of the 90s that I was there. And that was fun. I did a little bit of travel. I experienced a lot of live music. Unfortunately, I was getting into bad habits with not being kind to my body in terms of drinking and things like that, like, which is what people do in their 20s in London. Not everybody, but that's a common theme. I met my now ex-husband. I met my husband there, and we came back to Australia to be near his mum, who was getting much older. She was approaching her 80s at the time, and we wanted to have a family. So we did that. And when my children were younger, so I have four children, three of whom were born at home. When they were younger, it was tough because my husband at the time was working 70-hour working weeks every week. There was no break from that. And so I was very isolated. I didn't have any family here. I had cousins and aunties and uncle, but they weren't in Brisbane. They were elsewhere and had their own lives to live. So I felt very isolated, very alone. So that's when I started looking for more community. So it started with the home birth group. And that was great because we all helped to look after each other's kids. It's where one of my beautiful fellow mums started what she called pamper days. So we'd go to her place and there'd be all the kids running riot. And then a couple of us at a time would go up into her bedroom and do a foot soak and a face mask and maybe throw some runes. So we did a bit of spiritual stuff as well. And we got just to be in quiet space on our own. It was really beautiful. So that also helped to bring a bit of ritual for me, a bit of time out, a bit of self care, and being in community. So we all looked after each other's kids. She then brought in a belly dancing teacher that was the only one that was prepared to come to her place to teach. And so I then started my belly dancing journey, which I went on for about a decade. So I ended up going to the actual classes after that because we stopped the backyard things as the kid got older. So that was a really big thing for me as well. Tapping into, I've always been fascinated with Egypt. I've actually got a scarab here that is literally from Egypt that my partner brought back from his homeland. So that was a connection to have later. And we met through belly dancing as well. So I was getting back into the community side of things and being able to support other women, be supported by other women, because it's also important for whoever is giving to also receive. So that's been a big part of the journey too. I was also involved in breastfeeding association, so again another community. With the back to the home birth group, I ended up being one of the leaders of that group. So I was a convener and used to actually run the circle. So that's where I've got some of my experience that I've taken into today as well. So sitting in circle in itself is also something that traditional peoples of the world have done very commonly. Like the women in particular sitting in circle, it's very strong as a symbol to tapping into that universal, I suppose, energy. So whether
Yeah.
we call it source or God or the universe, it's all one and the same thing. But the symbol of circle is a zero or nothing, no thing. So it's nothing and everything. And it's
Yeah.
also continuous. So like all these different things weave into each other. Like I said, multi-dimensional being. So there's not much
Absolutely.
there about my thinking at all.
I love
Uh,
this.
so, so there were all the circles that I was involved in. Then that would bring me to, I then separated from my husband, and about a year later, the kids and I moved down to the Gold Coast. My second daughter didn't really fit in down there at the school that they were going to and missed her friends. So she came back and lived with her dad for quite a few years before she actually begged me, please come and back and live in Brisbane. So packed up the whole family, moved back to Brisbane. So there's been a few sort of like things happening along the way. I do miss living in Burleigh though. Burleigh was my backyard. I had less than a minute walk to the beach. So I walk every single day. That was so important to me to get out and move the body. It helped to clear the mind, I released a lot of emotions. I also got to walk with my son, who was a bit of a ratbag teenager at the time. But sometimes we go for late night walks, and that would be when we connected and talked. And those are very magical moments for me, very pivotal in, even though he and I weren't in a particularly healthy place, that was the thread that helped us to get through. And bringing us back to Brisbane, started to settle in, find new ways of being. The spicy flu came around, and so that was another big thing for me where I was just getting my massage business into traction and I wasn't allowed to massage anymore. Now, a lot of people managed to pivot and did really well and managed a lot of growth in their business. For me, I did not react well and started to shut down. And then after a while, I started doing a little bit of massage again, but it was very part time. I had other work that brought me income. But it was one of those people that was my clients that invited me to go along to be a massage therapist at her retreat. And then from there, like after I left that company, I then did some of the NLP training and I just built community through that way. So now I'm back doing women's work, doing circles, doing massage. It's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one package that I have that kind of ties all of those things in together for me, because I also do oracle card readings as well, which is just a tool. It's actually a tool to tap into your intuition. So it's a great segue for some people to tap into the coaching side of things in a much more gentle way.
Yes.
So I have this beautiful package that I've had to add the word goddess because apparently governments and banks don't like the word ISIS, but ISIS is actually a name of a goddess. ISIS dreaming package where the women come in, they get to sit down. I do a beautiful cacao ceremony while they get to offload like what's happening in their lives, all the good things, all the things that aren't going so well. And I do a card reading. So it helps them to then channel their energy into finding solutions or possible outcomes for them rather than being stuck where they are. From there, I then do a meditation, which I make up on the spot, which ties in again with the themes of what they're looking for, what they want to let go of. And then after that, they hop onto the table and get a 1 hour massage. So by the end of it, they're feeling completely dreamy,
Yeah.
leave a completely new woman. So I now have 3 women that have come back for at least 2, and there's one that's booked in a third. So it's a really beautiful, nourishing package, and it's where I get to kind of express my alchemy of making up the blends and tapping into the universe with the oracle cards, but also using the hypnosis and meditation skills, and then the massage hands on, which I love. Like my hands are very strong for being very little. I've somehow managed to, I mean, a lot of people do Reiki. I believe I've had that kind of tapping into that energy, and that's what people feel with my hands when I give them massage. So, yeah, that's my Isis dreaming package. Goddess Isis dream.
Yeah. It all sounds very, like, honestly, like, just listening to your story, there's some common themes that I think a lot of women will hear and go, oh my gosh, that's kind of what's happening to me.
Yeah.
But to go through that and then re-find or remember your magic or your zone of genius or whatever, people want to call it, to then be able to offer that to others is amazing. It's just, I think that's a real gift.
Well, like to be honest, it's really my mum who gave me the gift of massage. And I never wanted to make it full time. I'm not someone that puts people on the table and like at 12, like if the appointment's at 12 o'clock, okay, welcome, come on in, get yourself undressed and on the table. And then I come in, do the massage, and then, okay, your time's nearly up, off you go. And like it's 1 o'clock. So, a 60-minute massage ends up actually only being about 45 at best. There's a kind of that rushed energy feeling. And
Yeah.
like it's not conducive to someone being really deeply relaxed and getting the benefits. How I do it, I welcome the person in, they get a little bit of time to themselves because I allow that time and space beforehand. They get to say what they need to say. I leave the room, they get undressed, hop on the table, I come back in. I start the timer for the massage. Usually 90 minutes is what people opt for because you do get that deeper relaxation and more of the body covered. I start off with a meditation, and there's kind of two parts for it. So one is almost like a body scan where I'm allowing them to relax each part of the body. And then there's an actual walking meditation that I do usually. And again, I make it up on the spot, but it's often very familiar. And that allows the body to really, really let go. And so it deepens the quality of the massage, the benefits of the massage. And then when the time's up, sometimes I'll even go over like by a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, but you get the full 90 minutes of my hands.
Yeah.
There's muscle to release that tension and let it all go. And because the mind has been put in a place of deep relaxation in a hypnotic state, it also allows the mind to rest really well. And so the body gets to heal itself. It's not me doing the healing, it's the person who's on the table allowing themselves to let go, relax. I just am the person that like helps you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of brings all of my, and that is, like I say, I've dipped in and out of it over the years, and it's part of the health and well-being for me. So yeah, it kind of brings in all my skills and it provides a lot of what I do, mostly to women, but I have quite a few men clients that come as well.
It's just a real gift to enable someone in, that space to actually just relax and, like you say, release that tension because we, the world is just always asking something of us at the moment, it feels sometimes, and it's always go, go, go.
Yeah,
However, if you actually just stop and pause, there are actually just beautiful moments of stillness and of flow or whatever, whatever your word is for it,
yeah,
that we need to tap into a lot more
yeah.
because that actually brings us just back to home, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is I educate people. Like there's one guy that used to get headaches regularly. He was drinking a lot of energy drinks and not drinking water. So he now doesn't have energy drinks very rarely, and he's drinking water all the time. So he know because he's maintaining his body as well as his hydration, which I educated him on, he's now not getting headaches anymore.
Oh, how
So,
good is that?
like I also recommend that when people finish their massage, because I give them time then to get dressed in their own time, I allow for that space in between the clients to do that. They then get to float out and keep being relaxed. Like I always recommend that after a massage that you get to go home and do the things that are nourishing for you
Yeah.
and maybe read a book or have a rest, like whatever it is. Don't go rushing out into the world again. There's also another little technique that I love sharing, which is very, very simple that anyone can do at any time to reset themselves and get out of that busyness, stress feeling. It's just simple, free breath. Breathe in
Yeah.
through the nose and release out through the mouth. Even doing one, instantly my body's like, oh, yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
So I get like sometimes I get like this buzziness in my body, and it's like that tension. Like just breathe in the love and release
Yeah.
whatever needs to be released, and I'm back to like, ah, yes, I'm here, I'm grounded. Allow that energy to flow through me rather than being all uptight and tense.
Absolutely love this. And I love your approach just with life and how you've found fun and love and joy and so much happiness just through your experience, but also just really bringing that gift in to firstly yourself, but then out to others as well. So it's a beautiful story and it's a beautiful gift that you're giving others.
All of those things have helped me get through some pretty tough times. Sure, sometimes I forgot, but I always somehow managed to get through things, even if it was bare minimum at some times. But it's like building those kind of skills and tools that you can like just get out of the toolbox, having those handy. And it might just need someone to tap you on the shoulder to remind you, but you can do this for yourself. And it's got me through, like a pretty heavy separation and divorce. It's got me through moving towns and having to build new community. It's gotten me through some financially tough times where I get to appreciate the richness of my world in other ways. Like, yeah, the world is abundant and we get to be part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't shut yourselves out, people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not
Did you
just opening your eyes, but opening, like what you're saying right at the very beginning. It's opening all the different senses
Yeah,
to feeling, seeing, smelling,
thanks.
all of that kind of stuff. It just, yeah, there's so much around us.
Yeah. I just remembered a saying that was from the 80s and 90s was life, be in it. I don't know if you had it here in Australia, but in New Zealand,
Yes,
I'm pretty sure you did. So life, be in it. And then of course it was on all the big oversized t-shirts we used to wear back in the day
yes,
with our
yes.
neon coloured shorts. Oh my, some things should never be repeated in terms of fashion, I must say.
I don't mind a bit of 80s dress up every now and then. The leg warmers, the rah-rah skirts,
Yeah,
I'm all
oh, the
for it some
Rara
days.
skirts, the bubble skirt. No,
They're all coming back.
no.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Rach. I just, you're such a beautiful person, and I'm so glad that we can share more of your story with our listeners. And yeah, it's just been so great to talk to you. How can people find you if they want to either learn more about you or, access some of your services, whether it be the massage or any of your circles, your women's circles that you do?
Well, the most simple way would be to look at my Instagram or Facebook pages, both of which have my link tree in the bio.
Great.
So the Instagram is Rachael_Forbes. There's also crystalline therapies as well, which is all one word. So CRYSTALLINETHERAPIES. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Although watch this space because I have something very new and delicious coming that will encompass what I do now and more. So you're the first to know in the public, Kylie,
Yay!
and all your listeners. But there is something new coming which is even more holistic than what I provide. So I'm really excited about this.
Well, this is exciting.
Yeah. So that's the main way. So I can give you my little link tree link, and you can also drop that in your show notes if you do that.
Yes, we absolutely will. We'll pop
Right.
your Instagram details in and your link tree. And to our listeners, please reach out to Rach. She's a beautiful soul, and she just cares so deeply for every human on the earth, every soul on the earth.
Thank you, Kylie. And I love that you love the convoluted, crazy dance that I do with the storytelling, because that's really like, oh, look, new shiny thing. Let's go there. That's actually dancing is one of my loves, and that's how I approach life. Sometimes life dances are structured, and sometimes they're not, and I do
Yeah.
both.
I think it's great because I have the same. Like sometimes you're on a path, and then all of a sudden you need to go over this way.
Yeah,
And if that's where your intuition is taking you, if that's where your gut feeling's taking you, I'm all for it.
that's
So
great.
because that's how I operate as well. I'm not a super structured person. However, structure absolutely can be your best friend at different times. So it's doing that dance between it all. So and that can be fun.
Yeah, it's been an absolute delight.
Yes, it's absolutely been my pleasure. And to our listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate you taking the time. And remember, everything is inside of you. You are the magic. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Cool.